You highlight the paragraph and feel a small surge of relief, like the words have already moved somewhere permanent. Then tomorrow comes. The tab is still open. The highlight is still there. Your brain looks at it like it belongs to someone else. That is the problem. You did not learn it. You only met it, and that difference is crueler than people admit, because recognition is cheap. It feels like progress. It gives you the clean little feeling of, yes, yes, I know this. And the page closes and the thought vanishes with it, almost politely. Researchers at PLOS ONE found that after 24 hours without active review, only about 33% of the memory trace remains accessible, which means most of what felt solid yesterday is already gone by the time you reach for it again. The limitation is simple. This is memory, not magic. So the first trap is easy to miss. You keep reading because reading feels like keeping. You reread the same paragraph, the same note, the same slide, and the page starts to feel familiar enough to trust. It is like polishing a receipt and calling it proof of ownership. I did this exact thing last week with a note I had made about an article I thought I needed to remember. I opened it 4 times and still could not explain it without the page in front of me. I had the outline of understanding, not the thing itself. That is why so much studying feels strangely productive and strangely empty at the same time. You sit there with a notebook open and a pen in your hand, and the room looks like someone serious works there. The serious work, though, is not the copying. It is the retrieval. You have to make your mind go fishing without leaving bait hanging over the edge. That is annoying because fishing means you might come up empty. Reading again does not ask much from you. It lets you stay comfortable. It lets you mistake exposure for possession. Researchers found something unsettling in psychological science. Students who tested themselves instead of rereading recalled 61% of the material after 1 week. The students who only reread felt more confident before the test. What felt like better preparation produced worse results. The limitation is that confidence can arrive before competence and wear the same face. That is the part people hate admitting. Not that they forgot, but they felt ready while still depending on the page. The brain can be very polite about this. It nods at the familiar sentence. It calls that knowledge. Then the real question comes and the sentence is gone, leaving behind the exact kind of silence that makes you stare at a blank answer box as if it has insulted you. And the cost is not abstract. It turns into the awkward pause in a meeting when your name is attached to a point you can almost remember. It turns into the exam answer that starts strong and dissolves halfway through. It turns into the moment you close a document, reopen it 2 minutes later, and discover the idea was never really in your hands. So stop asking whether the page makes sense and ask whether you can say it back with the page closed. Not later, now. That simple shift changes the whole shape of the work. A note in the margin is not the same as a note in your head. A highlighted sentence is like a sticky note on a locked door. You can see it, you still cannot get in. The strange part is that this failure can feel personal, even when it is ordinary. People blame themselves for being scattered, lazy, or bad at focus. Sometimes the problem is smaller and meaner than that. You built the habit around recognition. Of course, it collapsed the moment recognition was not enough. Sleep makes the gap even harder to ignore. Researchers at Learning and Memory found that declarative memory is enhanced when sleep follows within a few hours of learning, independent of time of day. Sleep deprivation has a detrimental effect on memory, and that effect was still significant even after a full night of recovery sleep. The limitation is clear. Lost sleep is not something you can fully undo with one good night later. That matters because plenty of people learn late, sleep late, and assume the next morning will tidy everything up. It does not. The mind is not a folder system that waits patiently for daylight. If you feed it and then keep it awake too long, some of what you fed it never settles where you can reach it again. And you know this already in a messy human way. You have felt how a late-night cram session can make the page seem vivid and the morning seem blank. You have also felt how a proper sleep can make yesterday's material feel strangely closer, as if your head stopped acting like a hallway and started acting like a room. So the fix is not heroic. Review while the thing is still warm. And sleep, that is the whole bargain. Not because sleep is a reward, because it is part of the learning itself. And once you see that, rereading starts to look less like studying and more like window shopping in your own mind. You keep returning to the same place, admiring how familiar it feels, never checking whether you can carry anything out with you. Memory that only lives in front of the page is not a memory you can spend. That is why the habit survives. It flatters you. It lets you work hard without risk. You can spend an hour rereading and collect all the usual signs of effort. Underlines, tabs, tidy notes. A sense that the material has been handled. But handling is not the same as holding. If you cannot produce it without the source in front of you, then the source has become a crutch, not a tool. Try something smaller and sharper. Close the note and say the idea back in plain language before you move on. Not perfectly, not elegantly, just enough to force the mind to reach for it on its own. That is where the friction lives. And friction is the point. Because the real humiliation is not getting an answer wrong. It is discovering that your confidence was rented. You felt rich in knowledge because the text was still open. Then the screen went dark, and the account balance dropped to almost nothing. You keep doing this with articles, lectures, and saved posts because modern reading makes forgetting feel efficient. There is always another paragraph waiting, another tab, another place to skim until the topic feels familiar enough to abandon. Familiarity is seductive precisely because it asks so little. It lets you leave before the work starts. Then you are in the middle of a conversation, trying to contribute something you truly believed you understood yesterday, and the sentence falls apart at the first honest pressure. Not because you are unintelligent, because you never made yourself retrieve it without help. That is the line most people do not want to say out loud. You only knew it while it was in front of you. Cost of that habit spreads quietly. You spend longer relearning things you already touched. You repeat the same chapter, the same notes, the same course material, not because it is complicated, but because it never had to survive a test of recall. Every reread gives you the illusion of saving time, while secretly spending more of it. The pile grows, the confidence stays ahead of the skill. The gap stays invisible until it matters. So use a different kind of pressure. Put the page away and write 3 lines from memory before you allow yourself to check. That feels crude good. Crude is often honest. And once you do that, the brain starts to reveal what it actually has, not what it recognized. What it can produce. That is the thing nobody wants from learning, and yet it is the only thing that counts. The page is not there to decorate your attention. It is there to be left behind. If you cannot leave it behind, you have not finished the job. This is why rereading can become a very respectable form of hiding. You can spend all evening with your study materials spread out like evidence of commitment, and still avoid the moment where the material must stand up without support. I have seen my own hand hover over the same sentence, as if underlining it a 5th time might finally turn it into something I own. It does not, it just gives me a cleaner desk. And the desk is often where the lie gets neatest. The app is organized, the notebook is color-coded, the notes are indexed. It looks like a mind that is prepared. But preparation is not the same as retrieval. The proof shows up later, and usually without warning. That is why the loss stings so much. You do not just forget content. You lose faith in the version of yourself who said, "I've got this." Then you begin to compensate by reading more, reviewing more, organizing more, hoping the extra contact will solve what contact never solved in the first place. It will not. What will help is smaller and less flattering. Read less often. Pull it back from memory more often. Let the blank space appear while it is still safe to be blank. That moment is the actual lesson. And sleep on it before the mind has had to drag the information through too much noise. If you treat sleep like a pause, you miss what it is doing. It is part of the filing system. Miss that window and the page becomes a souvenir instead of a tool. Even then, the old reflex will keep returning. You will open the folder, see the familiar sentence, feel the familiar glow, and want to believe that this time it stayed. It did not. Not until you can bring it back with your own mind in the room. That is the test, not whether you recognized it, whether you can reach for it after the page is gone. And there you are again, the notebook open on the desk, one more highlight waiting like it has done its job already.